Welcome back to the Two Blues podcast and to the latest instalment of Loan Watch, a weekly series taking a look at all of the Chelsea youngsters on loan across the globe for 24-25. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate everybody that continues to support our journey and obviously our mission to bring you the most up-to-date and most important news regarding Chelsea Football Club. And today we are going to be taking a look at some exceptional performances for Strasbourg from Djordje, Petrovic and Andrey Santos. Some updates on Trevoh, Chalobah, Kepa, Arrizabalaga, Lesley, Ugochukwu and Alfie, Gilchrist. We're going to take a look at why it's important to track these players, how they are doing at the mid-season point, and what the future could hold for these players at Chelsea. But as mentioned before I started, appreciate everybody that continues to support this channel, but please make sure to like, drop us a comment as well, and subscribe to the channel if you are not. And we're going to start this week a little bit differently. We're going to start this week with a little compilation showing you just what Andrey Santos has been about this season in League One for Strasbourg. As you can see there, this is a guy that can do it all. This is the making of a complete midfielder. And I'm really keen to get into this, particularly with the news coming out yesterday that Chelsea could be high up on the list if Kobbie Mainoo leaves Manchester United this January transfer window. David Ornstein came out and perpetuated rumours that Kobbie Mainoo may be on the sell list for Manchester United, saying that they will have to sell homegrown players. And last night, Mr. C Money, my co-host, and I sat and talked about where Kobbie Mainoo would fit into this Chelsea team in terms of the pecking order. Obviously, we are blessed with a plethora of centre midfielders. I think centre midfield is the only area we do not need to address in the long term. Obviously, we've got Enzo and Caicedo as our main two players. We've got the likes of Lavia, Casadei, Chukwuemeka. We've got Andrey Santos. We've got Ugochukwu. I think we have so many quality centre midfielders. And Andrey Santos, I mean, personally, I'd put him in the pecking order above Kobbie Mainoo. I mean, in terms of what I have seen, and it sounds crazy, but I've seen more of Andrey Santos than I've seen of Kobbie Mainoo. I mean, Kobbie Mainoo, yes, last season, fantastic. Unbelievable debut season in the Premier League. The way he broke through. And also, I just want to go out and say, Kobbie Mainoo was a player that we spoke about years ago, before this was the Two Blues podcast, when this was the Expert Football podcast. The first interview we did was with a Man United Academy scout, Rob Heath. Shout out Rob, if you ever see this. But we asked Rob who the player was that he would predict would be breaking through into the Manchester United setup. If he had to pick one player out of a talented setup, who would be the one to make their mark? And he picked out Kobbie Mainoo without hesitation, without a second thought. He said Kobbie Mainoo is already a 35-year-old in a 17-year-old's body. He's got the wisdom, he's got the age, he's got that intellectual ability. He's got that footballing intelligence, the likes of Busquets, Iniesta, those players that can play at the top level for years until, after their legs have gone, they can play for 5-10 years because their mind is still so sharp. And Kobbie Mainoo has that quality. But physically speaking, Andrey Santos is leaps and bounds ahead of him. And I also think he's more complete of a midfielder. I think Andrey Santos has the potential to be the complete box-to-box number 8, whereas Kobbie Mainoo, I think, is probably a little bit deeper. He's a 6, maybe a 5. I think Kobbie Mainoo has, look, what he did at Manchester United last season, fantastic. What he did in the Euros, fantastic. I think he's impressed whenever we've seen him. This season, haven't been nearly as impressed with him. And obviously, you know, you've got to put a little bit of that down to he's not getting all of the game time. He's not been selected quite a lot under Ten Hag. They've got Casemiro, Ugarte. You know, it's a very difficult midfield to be doing the dirty work in. And, you know, I don't envy Kobbie Mainoo the position he is in. However, I would say at this point in time, you know, Andrey Santos is nailed on to continue this season at Strasbourg and then to come back into the fold in the summer and be part of this Chelsea team. There is no doubt in my mind that Andrey Santos will join this squad in June and he will be part of the plan and will be part of the first team next season when we are, hopefully, touch wood, playing Champions League football. But another centre mid confuses matters. And a player that I haven't mentioned, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, you know, I think he could be going this January. Fabrizio Romano said today he could potentially leave. You know, you've got Casadei, you've got Chukwuemeka. There's a few players in there that could leave. Casadei, I think there was talks today that potentially he might be going to Napoli. Chukwuemeka, you know, we've been very public about saying we'd sell him for 40 mil. Look, I'm not worried about any of these players if we know Andrey Santos is coming back in. He is that good. I have that much stock in this guy. Trust me when I say this guy is the truth. I promise you. But fingers crossed, we get to see a little bit more of Andrey Santos towards the end of this season. I'll try and include a few more highlight reels. Fingers crossed he keeps these performances up. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm not on FotMob right now, but I saw something yesterday which said that Andrey Santos has not had a subpar rating on SofaScore or FotMob this season. He has not had a game. He has not dropped a game under 7 out of 10 this season. Honestly, the level at which he continues to play, and people might say, oh, it's League One. He's a 20-year-old midfielder who's got no experience in the top European leagues, bar a game 10 minutes for Nottingham Forest last season before he joined Strasbourg. He's absolutely bossing it. He's their captain. You want me to sit here and listen to people that are saying, don't get ahead of yourself? But he's about 6 levels ahead of himself. He's about 4 lanes past his lane. His lane departure warning was going off 2.5 years ago. It's still beeping. He ain't looking back. He ain't caring. He's zooming, bro. He's overtaking. Andrey Santos, I'm telling you, Andrey Santos is the truth. But from one incredibly successful centre midfield loan to a less successful centre midfield loan, Lesley Ugochukwu. So he potentially, there was talk of him being recalled in January. He was not getting minutes under Russell Martin for whatever reason, even though Southampton are far and away the worst team in the Premier League and their midfield is far and away the worst midfield in the Premier League. And Lesley Ugochukwu is far and away the most accomplished centre midfielder in that Southampton squad. He wasn't getting minutes under Russell Martin. And the only reason I can think is potentially if it was a, Frank Lampard at Chelsea a couple of seasons ago situation whereby we had players on loan like João Felix that weren't getting minutes, literally weren't even getting on the bench, weren't getting used because they weren't going to be at the club next season. So Frank Lampard was thinking, why would I give this player minutes over players that will be here next season? So that's the only reason I can kind of think as to why Russell Martin might not have been playing him. But he looks like he's back in the team now. I don't even know what the Southampton manager's name is. I'll have to double check that. That's poor from me. That's very poor from me. But it looks like he's back in the team for Southampton. He's got a couple of 90 minutes and a couple of other starts under his belt in the last month. And look, if the new manager, I can't see them changing the manager twice in the season. And obviously the fact that he is playing right now means, if this manager stays until the end of the year, you'd like to think Ugochukwu was going to be a big part of that. So a couple of weeks ago, maybe a few weeks ago, I was, slightly concerned, potentially thinking about, doing what we did with Andrey Santos last season at Nottingham Forest, cutting the loan short at January and sending him elsewhere. But I do think, if he can, continue with the game time, I do think it has potential to turn into a fruitful loan. The one thing I'd say, though, is I don't think he is as ready as Andrey Santos. As Andrey Santos is ready to come into the Chelsea squad next season, I don't know if that's the case for Ugochukwu. I feel like he definitely needs at least one more season. I think he'd be good enough to play a bit part role or to play a rotation role. But at the same time, even for those roles, you want to know that your player is capable of doing it. So I do feel like for his development as well as for the beneficiary of the club, I do feel like we should potentially loan him out again next season, because while he's getting minutes now, he definitely didn't hit the ground running. He hasn't had the first half of the season that you would have hoped, and it's with these youth players, it's a big momentum thing. But one player that has bounced back in the Premier League is Kepa Arrizabalaga. Tell you what. And quick disclaimer, I hate Kepa. He's put in some bloody performances this last month. I tell you what, he's making some great saves, and he's always been a good shot-stopping keeper, dreadful with his feet, but poor mistakes as well. It looks like he's got, I suppose at Bournemouth you've got a lot more of a spotlight on you in terms of the shot-stopping and less of the ball playing. I mean, Bournemouth are playing some fantastic football and they're keeping a few clean sheets this season. So, great to see that he's part of that, the resurgent Iraola team that is, doing very well. And look, he's a Champions League winning goalkeeper. He's got medals. Like, he's we should definitely still sell him. I am in no way, shape or form getting back on board with Kepa. But this is the ideal situation for us because he has a good season on loan in the Premier League, having some great performances. The spotlight's back on him. Now we can get 35 mil for him. And Bournemouth, if they keep playing the way they are, they're going to want to keep as many of these players as they can. Obviously, Evan Nilsson splashed the cash on him, 50 odd mil. So we know they got a little bit of cash to burn. Listen, man, I like that loan move. I think it's going swimmingly at the moment. The perfect situation that we could hope for. A player excelling at a team that doesn't really affect us. Touch wood, because they're probably going to finish above us now. A team that doesn't really affect us, but he's putting in great performances, shutting out teams like Arsenal, Man City. It's very positive. And while I wasn't massively sold kind of prior to November, December, I think he's picked up. I do think he's really picked up, and I do think there will at least be a couple of suitors for Kepa at the end of the season, which has been the worry at the moment. There's been no one that wants to take him on a permanent basis. But hopefully that is different at the end of this season. Trevoh Chalobah as well. I'm not sure, and this is just going to be a very brief, I'm not kind of talking about Trevoh Chalobah's season. This is just kind of his, again, situation at the time as well. So Trevoh Chalobah to me is, on the face of it, quite an obvious solution to our defensive problems, recalling Trevoh Chalobah or even getting him back in at the end of the season. You've got a 25-year-old centre-back, Premier League proven, experienced, Cobham Academy graduate, loves the club, would do anything for the club, would love to come back and play for the club, would be sitting in alongside Levi Colwill, another Academy graduate. Like, the list of positives are endless. We wouldn't have to pay a fee for him. Another positive. Like, there is a lot of positives to Trevoh Chalobah. For some reason, I feel like it's not going to happen. I've got this gut feeling, the way that we pushed him to the side in the summer, the way that we have treated him to some degree, I do feel like, number one, if I was a player, I wouldn't have that, regardless if it's my beloved Chelsea or not, unless I'm getting a fucking heartfelt apology, I'm not standing for that. I don't take shit from, I'd like to think that he would be able to stand up for himself in that situation and do what's best for him. And if Chelsea turn around at the end of the season and go, we made a mistake, we would like you back in the fold, I wouldn't be surprised if Trevoh Chalobah was to be like, you know what, you've had your chance. How do I know that I'm not going to become expendable again in 6-12 months when the new manager comes in? So for Trevoh Chalobah, I would say don't come back. For him, purely thinking about his game and his development and him as a player. But look, whether we can do it or not, it's up in the air. The Athletic reported that there was no break clause in the contract, so we couldn't bring him back. Fabrizio tweeted exactly the same thing, then deleted it. And then Fabrizio tweeted yesterday that we can bring him back. And we are exploring options alongside, other transfers. Mark Gehi, obviously another transfer that we've been linked with. Do go check out our last videos as well. Put out a couple of videos on the whole Mark Gehi situation. Both myself and Mr. C Money Picks have been given that our full attention over the last 2 days. But yeah, man, another player that I think is having a fantastic season. I think, look, if nothing else, it's great for us because his transfer fee's gone up. We were looking at 25 mil in the summer to Nottingham Forest, clubs that were interested. We're definitely now looking at 30, 35 plus, maybe 40. This is a very good quality centre-back. And yeah, it's tough because we don't know the reality of the contract, the reality of the situation. There's no point in me sitting here going, we should bring him home if there's no break clause in the contract. And similarly, there's no point in me even discussing it if Chelsea have no interest in keeping him. What's the point in me giving my 2 cents? What's the point in me sitting here and talking for 5 minutes about it if Chelsea have already made their mind up, which I have a gut feeling they have with Trevoh Chalobah. But another player that I feel Chelsea have got a gut feeling on, which I hope changes, Djordje Petrovic at Strasbourg. So his performances, shot stopping, diving saves, distribution, his command of his penalty area, he's laying down clean sheets. Strasbourg won 3-1 or 3-0 at the weekend. They're putting in some performances. This is a team that was fighting relegation last season and is still low to mid-table this season. But they're putting together some nice results the last few weeks. Nice run of form. Very good performances, front to back, really. And I want to know your thoughts. That's the kind of main question for you guys today. Is with all the talk around Chelsea's goalkeepers, the lack of happiness around Rob Sanchez's situation and the uncertainty, I suppose, surrounding Philip Jorgensen as a challenger or a backup to him. Is Petrovic on track to challenge for a spot? Can he come back into the fold? I would love to say yes. I would love to think yes. I just don't think it's possible. I don't think it's that gut feeling that I have with Chelsea that we've decided that there is profit to be made and he hasn't passed the eye test for whoever is ruling the eye test at Chelsea, whether it's Vivell, whether it's Lawrence, Winstanley, whoever it is. Yeah. Somebody in that Chelsea dressing room doesn't like Djordje Petrovic, and I'd love to know why, because I personally think he's better than Sanchez and on par with, if not better than Jorgensen. But another player I think that unfortunately doesn't have much of a future at Chelsea. But one on the flip side of that I think definitely has proven this season that he's got a future at the club. Alfie Gilchrist at Sheffield United. 25 appearances, if I'm not mistaken, already this season, halfway through the year. He's on track to play 50 games, right back, going forward, defending, tucking in, putting crosses in. He's adding to his game. He's becoming a far more complete right back. Because before he was more of I would have said he was a right-sided centre-back, tucking in, playing in a back five. Able to move out, but not the most dynamic, not the most athletic. The times that I've watched him for Sheffield this season, he's been bombing down the right side. He's not the quickest, he's not the most agile, but he's adding that aspect to his game. And again, the main, I think, positive for Alfie Gilchrist has always been his defensive attributes, has always been his versatility as one-on-one defender. I think he's very, very good. And obviously the fact that he is, I know he's still young, he's by no means one of the older players in that Sheffield squad, but he's a leader as well. He's taken what he's learned from Cobham, from the Chelsea development squad, and taken that to the Championship. And that is what we want to see, is we want to see these Chelsea academy graduates, these young developmental players, going out and taking the game to these clubs and going out and making their mark and saying, why not? Why can't I be a starter? I might be on loan. I might be a teenager. I might not have the experience that half of you have. I might not be on the wage packets that half of you are on. But I'm good. I can do it. I'm good enough. These Chelsea players, there's so many. I mean, I watched the game last night, the Sporting game. I watched the first half, of the Chelsea Sporting game, under 21s. And I was just thinking that these players are good enough to play in League One Championship. But it's just going out and doing it. It's that experience, that going and playing in understanding what a physical role, understanding the physicality of the league, understanding the competitiveness of men's football. It is chalk and cheese from these under-21 games that are boom, 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 boom. The momentum, the mistakes. It's too quick, too basketball. The players aren't going to learn to become good professionals for the Premier League. Look, Chelsea have long had the best academy in the world. Not just in England, in the world. Fuck La Masia, because they don't produce all the talents that they tell you they produce. They buy them. Cobham produces more talent, pound for pound, than any other academy in the world. Maybe not Brazil. We'll have to do our research on that. But, yeah, I have no doubt Gilchrist is yet another player that has a future role in this squad. I think him and Achimpong are going to have a nice little rotation, nice little rolling substitute sort of thing going. I think Achimpong, Gilchrist broke through into the Chelsea squad last season, went out on loan this year. Achimpong needs to follow those footsteps, needs to break through, get some more minutes in the second half of this year, and then go out on loan in the Championship next year. See what it's all about in terms of the physicality, how to play the game properly, and then come back more refined. If you're able to play, if we have space, fantastic. If not, maybe another loan at a top side. But Alfie Gilchrist, from what I've seen, is definitely ready to come in and provide cover at a bare minimum for that right back spot. And again, it's another, I'd kind of class him as a very Lewis Hall type player. I think he's a very dual position. I think he can do 2-3 roles, tuck into centre mid. Yeah, I really, really like Alfie Gilchrist. I think he is more of an out and out defender rather than these days you're looking at a ball playing centre back, a progressive centre back. I do think he is just kind of an out and out defender. That is what he is good at. It's like Mark Cucurella. Like, the guy's quality going forward, but his one-on-one defending is his best attribute. And that is how I feel about Gilchrist as well. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the Chelsea loanees. Obviously, the players that we've discussed there, Alfie Gilchrist, Lesley Ugochukwu, Kepa Arrizabalaga, Trevoh Chalobah, Djordje Petrovic and Andrey Santos. They are by no means all of the loan players. There is not enough time to cover all of these loan players in every single episode, so we do just pick out the players that are having the most effective weeks, shall we say. Some bad news. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some bad news from Andrey, who picked up an injury. Looked like he kicked the floor the other day. I can't remember who they were playing, but it did not end well. He's played 4 games, I think, since coming back from injury. I saw him in a cameo appearance against Arsenal. Looked like he was throwing himself about. Looked like he was getting back into the mix. Yeah, not great that he's managed to get just 4 games. I don't even think there's a start in there, but 4 games under his belt, and then he's back out injured for an extended period. Look, I wish him all the best. It's just such a shame to see what's happening to Amanda Broja. Because, yeah, I do think there's a player in there still. I think it's just getting harder and harder to see it and to justify it. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts were on the episode. Appreciate everybody's continued support for this series and for the channel in general. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We will be bringing you plenty more Chelsea content this week. Chopping it up with Charms, our kind of general football recap, will be dropping this Friday. And Chelsea are back in FA Cup action on Saturday against Morecambe at 3 o'clock. I will try and do a pre-match preview. However, I think we are most likely just going to be looking at a match reaction for that one. I am going to the game. I am going to Stamford Bridge. So it will be slightly later than, final whistle, which is normally when I do my reactions. But we will get it to you as soon as possible, and I'll keep you posted on the socials at Two Blues Podcast, on the Instagram, on the Twitter. Yeah, on the Twitter and the TikTok. Don't forget it. But yeah, that's all for now. Let's have it. Up the Chills.